Welcome to the Investor Shed Podcast with Nick Beveridge, the ultimate source for all things investing and beyond. For free tools, tips, and tricks, go to northidahorei.com. Today's episode features Scott and Amy Rains. Scott and Amy went from their personal residence to 32 doors in just a couple of years. They talk about the hard work and long hours put in to achieve financial freedom, expanding their means to grow their business, eye-opening mindset and investing books, and much more. Stay tuned.
So, Amy and Scott.
Yes.
Tell me, so we were speaking a little bit the last couple weeks. You guys went from your own personal house to 32 in just a couple of years. You both have full-time jobs?
Had.
And now you have even more than full-time, if you include your projects, or is it going pretty good?
Yeah, I'd say it's going pretty good. I think we have a better balance now, don't you?
Oh yeah,
Work home.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We started out 2 years ago. That's kind of when we got started. We had some friends, become our friends.
Yeah.
Because a guy was photobombing us at the PBR finals, and
and
he's the guy that actually got us interested in real estate.
PBR finals.
Yeah, down in Vegas.
That's where you went?
Yeah, I'm really good at winning stuff at auctions.
Oh, nice.
So
He's grounded from having the paddle. He doesn't get to anymore.
And we went down there for our anniversary, and we met these people, and they become really good friends. It always comes up, well, what do you guys do? And they're like, oh, well, we're real estate investors, and we was waiting for the sales pitch to come, and it didn't ever come. And we went back to our room, and we're like, man, what's the deal with these people? What's going on? Waiting for it.
Why are they so helpful?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And this
really.
sounds way too good to be true.
Yeah.
Way too good to be true.
And we talked with them a little bit, stayed in touch with them, got back from that, and at the time I was working in 9 hours away from our home, so I was driving 9 hours over to work, 9 hours back every week. Did that all for a whole year minus 2 weeks, and we're like, man, I can't be away from the family that much anymore.
What kind of work were you doing?
Construction.
Okay.
I was a general manager or general foreman for now they're the sixth largest mechanical contractor, Apollo Mechanical. So they're out of Spokane, but they're based out of Tri-Cities. So they had been in commercial construction for about 21 years, something like that.
Okay.
So I had a pretty good.
So commercial construction.
Yeah.
Foreman.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So
you know a little bit about systems.
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit.
That's gotta help. So if you don't mind, let's go way back.
Sure.
How long you guys been together?
Almost 6 years together, married almost 4, almost 4. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Not
very long.
Any real estate investing experience prior to this, or
Actually,
interest?
that's how I hooked up with her.
That's not investing. That was my personal residence.
I know, but we was talking about remodeling your kitchen.
That's really there's always been interest in that. So Scott's personal home, he had completely remodeled.
Yeah.
And it's also entertaining to know that while he was working 9 hours away from home and traveling, we had demolished the kitchen before so I went 9 months without a kitchen and washing dishes in the bathtub. But we've always had an interest in renovation and remodeling.
How dare you?
I know. I did fine. It was fine. But so that is, yes, it wasn't over real estate investment. It was my personal home that I wanted to renovate the kitchen, but we've always had an interest in renovation. And one of the things that I said during that was I've always wanted to flip a house, right? I've always just wanted to, and it was more for the process and the design part of it. I wasn't thinking about the money part at all. I just wanted to rehab something. Fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess to that, yes, it's always been something kind of in the back of both of our heads.
Now, was it really fine washing the dishes for 9 months in
really
the bathtub?
Was. It was because...
Now, Scott, when Amy says it's fine...
I think it was literally fine.
It
was
just
like,
fine.
Yeah,
okay.
I think she looked at me and she's like, oh, well, you're driving 18 hours a week and working 50. So
okay.
I had a
that
lot
was
of...
her... Yeah.
I had a lot of respect and appreciation for him. He'd get off work at 4 on Thursday, drive 9 hours and get home at like midnight, 1 in the morning on Friday, then work on the kitchen Friday, Saturday, and turn around and leave Sunday morning and drive 9 hours back. So he was having no life and no fun. And if I had to wash dishes in the bathtub, plus during that time, we didn't have the kids because with him being gone, the kids weren't there. So it was really just me. So it was paper plates and wine glasses, essentially.
Right on.
And during that time, my W-2 job had exploded, and I was not only being a director for all of the clinics at the hospital I worked for, but I was also being the interim vice president of physician services. So I was literally the only administrator for 15 clinics.
Okay.
And all of the staff and all of the physicians and doing all the recruiting and onboarding. And I mean, it was nuts. So I was literally working like 4 a.m. to 11 p.m. during that time.
Okay. Were you working at home or at the hospital? Okay.
Yeah,
wow.
She was getting beat up pretty bad.
So neither of you were home anyway to enjoy the kitchen.
No.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of those things. A lot of time on the road, so I was listening to a lot of self-help books and growth books and education and stuff like that. And
I heard Dave Ramsey first, right?
Oh yeah.
And then Kiyosaki.
Yeah, so I'm like, we got to do something different. We're going down this road, we're selling body parts and all this stuff, and obviously I'm joking about that, but
I bought bottle hair dye, so I would took you seriously.
Yeah.
So we started down that road, and then we went on our honeymoon to Vegas, to the PPR finals. Met Derek and Tracy Dombex, giving a quick shout out to them. Avid traders, great group of people. And that's when we there's a better option than just saving and living really frugally and stuff. We just need to expand our means.
Yeah.
And that's
expand your means.
Yeah. So
quite a different point of view.
Oh yeah.
Than the norm.
Yeah.
You usually live within your means, right?
Yeah.
Hey, it's okay to have an average life.
You got one, make it really average.
Yeah.
Be satisfied.
And unbeknownst,
always being broke is fine.
Yes. And depriving yourself of all the things that you want to do and waiting until you're retired to travel. Like, why would you want to travel when you're young and healthy? Like, wait till you're in a wheelchair.
Wait till you don't have the energy.
Yes. And you don't desire to go because then COVID hits and now nobody goes anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
unbeknownst to me, he was he bought into that and was digging and researching and listening to books, and he didn't really share that with me. So all these months go by and I'm back here with envelopes and I'm Dave Ramsey and things, and he's in the car going, I think there's a better way.
So those that are confused, what do you mean by envelopes? What does that mean?
Well, we created a budget, and every month there was a set amount for that, and it was in the envelope. And when you took it out of the envelope, when it was gone, it was gone.
Okay.
And then as we were paying, debts, Dave Ramsey's famous for his snowball, right?
Yeah.
So we were snowballing any debt that we had, and then we were literally enveloping our budget money. So, groceries got X number of dollars, and you took the cash, and, gas got... So when the envelopes were empty, you were done for that period, whether it was 2 weeks or a month or whatever.
Gotcha.
So I'm back here enveloping money and snowballing debt, and I'm on my happy little way, and he's in the car going, crafting up another idea.
Yeah. So is it this couple that you met in Vegas that inspired you to listen to Rich Dad Poor Dad, or did you listen to that before you met them?
It was after. Really, they planted the seed, and they tell us this often, and we're all part of our mastermind group, so we meet twice a year now and stuff, and every month actually. But they planted a seed, and I kind of let it go. So I'm like, okay, what is there as far as real estate, education, right? What's going on? What's the deal with this? So then I started listening to, I come across Bigger Pockets. And I noticed on the episodes, right, they got the question, what about the book, or what do you see? And it was always the purple book, right?
Rich Dad, always Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's
so
every other episode.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's got to be something to it. And I still spent quite a bit of time on the road. I got back from working in Montana at Big Sky. So got back and just spent all that time for about the next 9 months. I never even turn on the radio unless it is a podcast, educational books, something like that.
The funny thing is, sorry to interrupt, but
No,
Rich
you're
Dad
fine.
Poor Dad, they barely talk about real estate in that book, but it's everybody's favorite real estate book.
Because it changes your mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just talks about it a little bit, but everyone's like, "You're right, I should."
That was really
Yeah.
it. And I remember when I finished that audiobook, I was sitting in the parking lot at 5:30 in the morning getting ready to go into my office on the job site, and I was like, man, because I'd helped build this division, running $16 to $22 million worth of work a year, and I'm like, I built this, and I'm like, I've been running the wrong way, like really hard the wrong way.
How long you been working there?
With Apollo, right at 11 years. 12
Okay,
years.
quite a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be tough.
And
I just stepped out like 3 months ago.
Yeah. Did you have to give him like a 6-month notice?
I gave him 1 year.
1 year?
I gave him 1 year.
That's nice of you.
And it kind of popped up in our annual performance reviews, and I'm like, well, by next spring I want to be stepping out. And my project executive, he's like, you're going to need to talk to the vice president about that one. So I'm like, okay.
You can't just quit like that.
Yeah. Well, I gave you a year. Yeah.
Not good.
But that was kind of one of the things I'd kind of personally set a goal that in 2 years from taking off with this thing, I want to be able to step out.
Yeah.
And it just we pushed really hard. It goes back to that why. I was tired of seeing her get beat up at her job, emotionally, and just spending the time away from the family. And for me, that was my why. And so
Awesome.
That crystal clear, laser focus why.
Yeah.
Like it's not stopping.
Wow.
That's
So
one
3
of
months
his
ago,
strengths.
you were able to leave your
I did.
job, and
I left a year ago.
you left a year ago. It's incredible.
So
And you guys just started 2 years ago.
I did.
Initially, the plan was for him to step out first, but his job was still, he had a very good job. Not that my job was a bad job, but mine's going through a lot of transition, or was going through a lot of transition. There was a lot of uncertainty and just some changes that were not good, that were not positive. It was rough.
Yeah.
And so we changed, and our rental portfolio had increased to the point where I was doing, a fair amount of rental property management. So he allowed me to step out first, which turns out it was a great thing because of the driving for dollars that I did. But initially, I was worried that was the wrong decision, that the business would have grown faster if he had stepped out first, because he's the one with all the construction knowledge and all of that ability. I've learned some of it along the way, but
She can lay subflooring tile, the shower, and
Full wire.
not so good at wrapping ductwork.
No.
Ductwork, but
I've
It takes a
learned
special
things.
skill.
Yeah.
Wrap ductwork.
So we
just don't include the electrical.
well, yeah. Whoops.
Stories. We'll get into that.
Sure.
Okay, so you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, or you listen to it while driving.
Did.
And then I heard you called back. You called your wife, told her, "Hey, throw away the envelopes, but take out the cash," right? Something like that.
Yeah.
Burn
And by the way,
burn the Dave Ramsey books.
Yeah.
We're doing something different. And how
Yeah.
did you react to that?
I said, over my dead body. I said, you have lost your mind. And there was a lot of really bad words included in that. And I don't know that I'm a very stubborn person, and I don't know that I've ever dug my feet in so hard in all my life.
Yeah.
I was like, because this is completely abnormal from what most people say. You save, you live, just like you said, you live frugally, you make a good living, you don't go into debt, you blah, 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 blah. And so I had not been doing the education that he had been doing, and he kept saying, you need to listen to this book. And I'm like, just give me the Cliff Notes. I'm not going to listen to the book. I was a total pain in the butt.
Yeah.
And when he says he was laser focused, I later came back and thanked him very much for his tenacity and his ability to stay the course, because if he would have given in to me, we would not be where we are. But I fought hard, and it was rough. It was really rough. But I finally said, okay, fine, we'll do one. Because I'd always wanted to do one. And we did the perfect burr.
The burr. Okay. And what's the burr? For those who,
So it's,
for the one person out there who doesn't know.
Yeah,
the one
I'm
that's
kidding.
tuned in. So BRRRR is you buy a place.
Okay.
You run your numbers to where
You buy any kind of house or property.
No, you really wanted to be a single family or a small multi.
Yep.
And really, whenever you run the numbers on it, you want to make sure that your rehab, or not make sure because sometimes things happen, but the goal is to hit that 70-75% mark of the after repair value.
Yeah.
So when you buy it, you make sure that you're running your numbers. You're going to come in at that, and really what you do, that's to have a perfect one, I guess, or you get some money back at the end. You buy it, you rehab it, you rent it out, you refinance it so that you get all your money back that you have in that property, and you repeat the process.
So this was the first thing you guys decided to do a
Yep.
BRRRR,
Yep.
and you learned that through Rich Dad or somewhere else.
The second
Or
book
one
I
of your-
read was Brandon Turner's book on investment property rental. Investing,
Oh, okay.
Investing in rental properties, and so that was the second one, right on the tails of that. And I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
this makes sense. I understand where it's going.
So what did that
That's what we
first deal look like? How'd you find it? And did you use an agent? Did you get it off market?
We did. So, listening to the podcast and the educational piece, we realized that we needed help. We needed our team members, right? Like the core four, the people that really support us and help us. I dealt with a real estate agent in the past and actually got into a house on a short sale. So I'm like, well, this guy knows how to do a short sale, which I figured, yeah.
Short sale 2 years ago?
No, this is like 10 years ago.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Actually longer.
Getting
17 years
confused.
ago.
Okay.
And so we're like, okay, good to go. Went through the process, right? I mean, try getting a short sale now, right? Our banks are like, nah, let's go back on the market. It don't happen. So
Our first BRRRR was on market. This was obviously back in 2019, so before the market went nuts. It was a house that, it was an estate.
Okay.
The person who owned it had died. The family had come in. It had a mold issue, and so the family had come in and tore everything out of it, clear down to the floor joists. Like there was not a stitch of anything other than studs, floor joists, windows, and a roof. That was it.
Okay, so that's when an estate simply just
it
means
was.
somebody died in the house or died that owned the house.
yeah,
So
the
somebody else was
man
dealing with
passed
it.
away. The woman went into a nursing home, and she passed away. So then the estate took it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the kids sold it. We picked it up for what, $62,000, I think. It was a little 850 square foot, 2-bedroom, 1-bath, and it was
Okay.
completely gutted.
62,000. And what was the after repair value?
155.
155.
We put 40 in.
Okay. And how'd you come up with that number? Did you guys come up with it on your own that it should be worth about 155, or did you get help?
We was running. Well, I want to back up just a little bit on that. The agent that we used, there's definitely a difference between investor real estate agent and a real estate agent.
Yeah.
And we was fighting tooth and nail for our agent that we was really wanting to be on our team to understand where we was going with it. And he's like, you don't want rentals. They're pain in the butt. You're going to be changing toilet at 2 a.m. And I'm like,
Yeah.
how many
We have
toilets you
yet
got
to change a toilet at 2 a.m. Yeah.
Oh God, it's so funny. I was thinking about that this morning, like just because I was thinking of an idea for a video, like 10 myths, and I was like the toilets at 2 a.m. thing. I'm like, I own like 46 toilets, and I've never had one call. Plus, if I wouldn't get the call. My property manager would get the call.
Yes, yeah, that's
So
that's hilarious.
What's the problem?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't
But
get
sorry.
it. But that's everybody's got
But
an uncle
yeah.
that had a property that they had to replace the toilet.
Everyone has
at
their
2 a.m.
Yeah, everybody wants to give you advice,
Oh.
even when they have no experience.
Friends and family are the best, right? They're
Yeah.
trying to keep you really safe, and they're like, "Don't go do stuff."
because they care about you,
Yeah,
but you don't know what you don't know.
yeah, and that's
so this real estate agent that you wanted to use,
Yeah.
he didn't want you to buy a rental. He thought it was kind of just a bad idea.
Oh yeah,
Too much
we
work.
kind of got in it was a kind of a heated discussion about because he was trying to take our business one direction, and we're like, wait, this is our business,
Yeah.
this is ours. Unless you want to take over the security of our life forever.
Did he want you to just flip the house so we can get the
Probably.
so
Yeah,
he can get
that
the
was-
commission on the
yeah,
back?
probably.
That was really the direction he was wanting to go, and we got the house. Spent time. I mean, we did all the work.
after our 60-hour-a-week jobs, so it was an evening and weekend, and there's a really funny story associated with that house.
Yeah. Before you go there, can we talk more about how you bought it?
Sure.
So $62,000, needed a
Good
lot of
cash.
work. You said there's mold, all kinds of crap.
There was no mold at the time
sorry,
because
not
they
mold.
had tore it all out.
Okay.
So we didn't have to treat any mold, but it needed everything. Right. There was
Okay.
no mechanical systems. The plumbing was needed all replaced. All the electrical was tore out. So we literally had to put all subfloor. It needed everything, but there was no
Okay.
mold anymore. They had taken care of that.
It was remediated by a professional company.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we paid cash for that.
You paid cash. So you guys had the cash saved
Took
from your jobs, or did you?
had over 100,000 saved in a 401k.
Okay. Cool.
So pulled out 50.
Awesome.
And we had a personal line of credit that went up to 35,000. That we went to a local bank. We had really good credit, good paying jobs, all that stuff. So they said, sure, here you go.
Yeah.
So we used that money, and since we had remodeled kitchens and a lot of stuff at Home Depot, through Home Depot, we had a $22,000 line of credit at Home Depot.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So we was like, and that was kind of our plan going into this, is if we do this, we invest this money, we use this cash between the personal line of credit and the 401k. We do this, we use the Home Depot line of credit. When we got all of our money back, we could pay everything back off.
Yeah.
And then we got our house, and we can go do it again.
Did you know what this house was going to rent for?
We had a pretty good idea, so we ran comps. We did our homework. We ran comps on it, figuring out really kind of where it was going to ARV out, what we thought it was going to rent out for.
I was going to say it's important to go back because the conversation about the agent issue and running comps.
Oh, yeah.
We became really good at he specifically, and then subsequently me, became really good at trying to figure out comps because our agent was not helping us. And so we started doing it, and we've been pretty close. In fact, Scott's very close on almost all of them, what they come back at.
It's a good skill to have.
It is. And he now can nearly, we know our market well enough, he can nearly eyeball it. Although with the change in the market, it has surprised the heck out of us. But we got really good at kind of getting in that ballpark quickly. You're never going to be exact, but as long as you're within a couple $10,000, you're fine. So.
Was this house, the first house that you bought, was it anywhere near your home? Was it easy to keep tabs on?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
What, 3 miles?
Yeah. Lewiston, Clarkston, well, 5 probably, because Lewiston and Clarkston are like 5 miles apart across the river. This house was actually in Clarkston.
Okay.
And the other thing, that we always look at is multiple exit strategies going in and out of a deal. So we planned on renting this just as a long-term rental.
Yeah.
Obviously, this was before COVID and before eviction moratoriums. But you could also, it would have made an awesome short-term rental for traveling nurses because it was literally like 5 blocks from the hospital, from both hospitals.
Yeah.
So it had a great, potential for all kinds of things. So
Flip would have been
we
perfect.
would have, yeah. So we did. We put 42 in it. I think was our total in. Bought
Okay.
it for 62. Put 42 in it, and then was able to refinance it back out at 112.
And if I remember right, did you guys say you did most of the work yourselves?
We did all of it except
Except the
drywall.
drywall. I know I am not good at drywall. I can do it, but it takes me 4 times as long, and it's just why.
Yeah, if you don't do drywall every day, it takes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it
you
could take
see the
it could take you a
seams
month.
and- yeah.
When it could take somebody else 3 days.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we replaced every window in the house, all new subflooring, all new plumbing, all new wiring, brand new mechanical system, put in a condensing unit for central air, granite countertops, added a washer and dryer because there was not one.
So a rental, you put in granite countertops.
We put granite in almost all our rentals.
See, I do it too. I
Yeah.
quartz anyway.
Yeah.
But it's not much more expensive than regular
And it
countertops.
hardens it.
That
It's really hard to destroy.
yeah, and you get a higher quality tenant, I believe.
You do.
And we put vinyl laminate plank in all of our rentals. In fact,
Yep.
we put carpet in our
So
very first
LVP,
rental. Yeah.
right? Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We know our prices per square. I mean, it just works.
Yep. And
Were
we
you
did
guys?
all of
Sorry to
that work.
interrupt. Were you pretty close on what you thought you might spend?
Yeah.
Yeah. We had 40, I think. I had 40 in my mind.
Perfect.
Yep.
And I'm sure all the construction experience helped.
It
that?
did quite a bit. I
Yeah.
knew, like so I was a general superintendent for mechanical contractor, so I knew plumbing, I knew heating, I knew air conditioning.
Yeah.
I've done electrical. I had a really good idea where everything was going through. had a concept of like going through it. We
Yeah.
envisioned it, and that was one of the parts she loved about it. And really, this was like, for us, it was a really safe play because it wasn't big enough it was going to bury us if something went wrong. Right?
Yeah.
We wasn't taking on a 10-unit multifamily or a 20-unit multifamily. We took on an 850 square foot house.
Yeah.
It's still
That's
my
good.
favorite house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it wasn't going to bury us, and it was also a great experience. I know construction, but she doesn't know construction.
Yeah. So you got to.
So when she was
Teach.
there and she was laying subflooring and throwing down glue and
Yeah.
doing
Pulling wire and tiling
Yeah.
showers and hanging
Wow.
cabinets and
So one thing, I guess I'm a little confused. You guys both had full-time jobs,
yeah.
right? Like
So-
more than full-time. I know what it takes to do a gut job house flip. Like, where did you have the time to also do all the work and have your jobs?
from 6 p.m. till 9 p.m. at night, and then every Saturday and Sunday. For how many months did it take us? 5, 6?
4.
I think it was closer to 5.
We picked it up in May.
And we finished
It
in
was done
September.
Okay,
Okay.
not bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a lot.
Yeah.
So you didn't have much of a personal life.
We
Or I
haven't
guess-
really had much of a personal life for 2 years. We're just now starting to get one. But looking back, it was worth it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah. But for 2 years, we drove hard.
That Y's got to be big enough. That Y's got to be big
Yeah.
enough that I love hunting. She loves hunting. We love camping, and we didn't. And that's where her funny story is going to go
So-
after a little bit. But that Y's got to be big enough that you're going to work really hard for however long, 2 years, 5 years, whatever your vision is. You're going to work really hard, but after that, it's going to be a lot easier.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was the thing is, I was willing to give up that stuff. The invites from the family to go camping,
Yeah.
and all that stuff, and they look at you like you lost your mind a little bit.
Yeah.
And we've learned that that's pretty common. Being
Well,
a real estate investor.
So let's put this in perspective, though. Yeah, you guys both have overwhelmingly big responsibilities with your jobs. You're working more than 40 hours a week anyway.
Sure.
And then your friends and family see you pull out your retirement, buy this little house outside of the area, a little bit outside the area, not much. And then you spend 4 or 5 months of all your spare time working on it.
And go into debt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And go into debt. So you're about, 105 into it at that point by the time you fix it up? So you're in at 105. Remember you said the after repair value seemed like it was going to be around 150, 155. What did it actually appraise for when you went for the mortgage? 150. Okay, so you're on. And then how much of a loan were you able to get?
112.
112.
112. And is that 70% or 75% of the appraisal? 75. And what was your payment? Do you remember?
5. Well, right now it's $431.
Okay, 431. Is that taxes and insurance included in that?
No, taxes and insurance come to about another 200, just shy of 200. So we're all in at 6.
So about 600 a month is what your cost is to hold
And it
that
rents
house.
for 900.
Rents for 900. Okay, so you got a loan. Let's put this in perspective then. Okay, so you took out your retirement and got a line of credit. You're all in around 105. Then you got a loan for 112. So you got to pay back all that
And some cash in our
and a little bit of extra cash.
Well, we wish we had got to pay back all that.
Yeah,
But we just picked up more properties.
we'll get to that. We'll get to that. But just for somebody
Yes,
to understand
right,
like
simplicity.
how
Yes.
powerful this kind of method can be.
Oh,
Yes.
it's crazy.
So you got all your money back, and you got this house that somebody else is going to pay off the mortgage for you on your behalf, and you get a little tip every month, a little $300 or so.
And we got cash at closing.
You got
so-
cash at closing. You have $50,000 in equity on top of that.
And the house now is worth $165,000.
Now it's worth $165. So you've had some appreciation. Not always expected, but
No.
it's nice when it happens.
Yeah.
And you still owe about 110 on it or so.
Yeah,
You're right at
right,
it.
just under 110, I believe, 109 and some change.
Have you had much vacancy issues?
The same tenant is in it from the minute we rented it. And when I did my 1-year inspection, the place looked exactly like it did when I turned it over to her.
Great.
There is absolutely
No calls in the middle of the night?
No. The only time she's ever called me is she locked herself out of her house and I had to go open it for her.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That was nice of you.
It was horrible.
Tenant pays all the utilities, so we don't pay any utilities.
Yeah. Have you ever... I'm sorry, I'm bad at interrupting, but before I forget, did you ever run this through like a Bigger Pockets calculator to see how much that one house is going to make you over 30 years?
Not yet, no.
Have you?
Nope.
I bet you it's close to $700,000.
Oh, probably. Yeah, very much.
And you got all your money back in 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we've done that 5 times. Yeah. Once I saw it the first, so remember I was dragging my heels through all this, and this is where the funny story comes in, and I have to get this out there because I was dragging my heels through all of this, but I was showing up reluctantly. I was learning all this stuff, and I was actually kind of enjoying it, the creative part, the building, the whatever, because remember I'd always wanted to renovate. Scott, through this whole thing, his favorite line was, what was it? Short-term pain for long-term gain. And every time I would throw a little tissy fit about it, he'd be like, just remember, babe, short-term pain for long-term gain. Well, as with any construction project, our deadline kept getting expanded a little bit because it's all the little stuff at the end. It's the trim work, the lighting, the whatever that just, takes so long.
Yeah, it takes half the renovation.
It does.
Like when you think you're just about done, add another month of just these little tiny things that you're like, why is this taking so long?
So
why does caulking take a month?
Yes.
Oh, no.
And mind you, we
putting
were the
on
one
the little
doing
switch
the work.
plates and all
so
this
we're
stuff.
like, this shouldn't take that long because we're in charge of it, and we were there every day. It wasn't like we were slacking off, but it was always a little bit more and a little bit more.
And then you could do more things if you wanted.
Oh, yeah.
But you got to stop at
there's
some
always
point.
more you could do.
Yeah.
So
could make the yard prettier.
We had planned. We're avid hunters, and we love archery season, which is in September.
It's coming up, a couple weeks.
Well, yes, but that project butted right up into September. Remember, we were
right.
finishing it.
Into the week that we was supposed to be taken off for hunting.
So we had planned a 10-day hunt. We had never been hunting for 10 solid days. So we're like, we're going to reward ourselves with 10 days in the mountains because we've been working so hard. Well, construction kept eating into that, right? So pretty soon it's another day and another day and another day. And this guy starts getting really agitated. So he ends up throwing himself a nice little tissy fit at the project and literally was stomping and throwing things because he wanted to go to the mountains. And I said the wrong thing. I said, just remember short-term pain for long-term gain. I think he wanted to strangle me. His face got bright red. He went outside, grabbed a shovel and was shoveling gravel. And I'm like, I think I said the wrong thing.
About to make him do more drywall work.
Punch
some holes through the walls. Just kidding.
But it was a very cathartic moment for me because all that time when I was stomping my feet, I was like, okay, so he felt my pain at that moment too. But that was also the project that really made me realize, okay, he's onto something. Like, still to this point, I haven't listened to the book that he keeps telling me to listen to. I haven't listened to a single podcast because I'm like, just give me the cliff notes. He's like, no. So I finally broke down and then I listened to it after that.
Which one? Rich Dad Poor Dad?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. And then I started to understand. And then I started listening to podcasts. And then I started doing everything he had been doing because now the concept had been proven. Like he had proven the concept to me. And that sounds awful simplistic because we had a lot of issues with refinancing it at the end. Like there were, we had banks that were like, well, no. And, so we had, the cheese kept moving and we had to keep trying to find the way. But we found it.
Refinancing is one of the most difficult parts of the Burr method, I believe. Mm-hmm. Everyone says it's the construction. But damn, refinancing when you're an investor and you have 7 properties or whatever, it can get messy.
Yes.
And that's, and I'm sure we might get into it later on, but that is definitely one of the things is finding a good, we found a good local bank.
Yeah.
That they do their own underwriting, so that it's really they can look at it and see where you're going, and they warned us a lot. You guys are going too fast, etc. And we're like, okay, got you, just one more.
Just one more. I got one more in the pipeline.
Yeah.
And we actually do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was one of the things, and we learned a lot.
Underwriter comes back. Hey, did you buy another property? We ran a search again. We need all the info on that too.
Yeah.
Did you sign personal guarantees? Yeah.
That's what we waited until we closed on the last one. We were like,
We
about
had,
this.
we had 2 more that we
More in
need
the
to
pipeline?
refinance. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the vice president of the lender, she's like, let me look and see if you've hit your limit yet. I don't know of anybody who's ever maxed out a bank limit yet.
But that's
I'm there.
Are you?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, every time you go a couple houses until you hit 10, you have new criteria, new credit score requirements, and new reserve requirements.
yes.
Yeah.
Fun.
It gets sticky, but it's all workable. You
Yeah.
just pay your taxes,
Yep.
some of it, some taxes.
Well, and that's one of the things about being an investor is, or being in control of your life, actually, is like, it's yours.
Yeah.
You fail, you succeed, it's you.
Mm-hmm.
If one bank tells you no, well, you call another bank, and you keep calling, you keep looking, you keep searching. We call it somebody moved the cheese, and it just, things happen, you pivot, you go, you figure out a solution, and you keep moving on.
Yep.
You don't really have the option to just throw your hands in the air and say, oh, well, it can't be done.
Yeah.
It's
So
not
by the
ours.
time you were finishing your first one, did you already have eyes on a second property, or did you buy one in between while you
I
were
scalped
renovating?
one off an old man.
Okay. You pick someone's pockets.
Well, Scott was at work on the property one day, and this old guy shows up to talk to him about who he's using for electrical, who his electrical contractor is. I have to preface this by saying I have a thing with the number 1111. I see the clock at 1111 every day. I have for my whole life. We got married on November 11th. It's like my number.
Yeah.
So he shows up and he's talking to Scott. I show up and Scott's looking at me like, hallelujah, could you get this guy off my back? Because he's been talking to me and I got work to do.
Oh, I
So
love that.
Yeah. He'd been there for probably an hour,
Neighbors.
right?
You're holding the sheet.
Neighbors always feel like they can just walk right in
Yes.
as you're
Can I
renovating.
take a look?
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, this is an open house, right?
Right.
Because
Come on
you
in
let
for
the door
coffee.
open for a second?
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're trying to
we're
install the exterior door.
They're got their heads poked in. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I take over and I'm visiting with him and he's like, yeah, I've been renovating this house up around the corner for a while. And I just was looking, talking to your husband about a electrical contractor, blah, blah, blah. And I go, oh, yeah. And I go, well, he was like, yeah, it's just up there around the corner. I go, well, what's the address? And he says 1111 11th Street. And I go, oh.
Whoa.
I said, really? I go, what are you going to do with that house? And he says, well, I don't know. I've been working on it for 11 years. This is no joke.
Wow.
And I go, well, can I take a look at it? And he goes, sure. So I go over there, and it's adorable. It is the cutest little bungalow, craftsman bungalow conversion. I don't know what he was doing to it. Adorable. And it's in a perfect state of renovation. Like there was enough left that we could do and not too much left to do.
So a lot of the big things were done.
Yeah, exactly.
Mechanicals. And
So I said, well, Bill, if you ever think about selling this, let me know. And he goes, well, I've thought about selling it. He goes, I've got another house I'm working on. And I go, well, here's my card. Give me a call. And he goes, well, what would you think you'd give us for an offer? And I said, well, let me run numbers with my husband. I'll call you. So we sat down last night. Scott figured out the ARV, and we kind of looked at things and figured it was probably worth around $230, completely done at that time. So we thought, well, we'll offer him $110, right? We figured out our renovation would probably be around $45,000.
Yeah.
And so we said, we'll offer him $110. I said, well, if we're going to offer him $110, we're going to offer him $111, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I offered him $111, and he's like, I don't know. I was thinking I wanted more than that. And I said, okay, well, if you change your mind, let us know. So a month later or so, he calls back, and he's like, I think I'll go ahead and sell it to you. So we bought that house on 1111 11th Street for $111,000 in his 11th year of renovation.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was in October. So that was just as we were finishing up Diagonal.
It was in October. You should have waited one more month.
I know.
Right?
I would have yeah.
Okay. So you closed the month after you finished your first renovation. How long did it take you to refi that first house? Do you remember?
That one was a chore because that's when we learned that you had to have a 6-month seasoning period for Maze or Max.
Okay.
For Fannie Maze or Freddie Max, right? You have
Yeah.
to have you got a 6-month seasoning period. And the bank that we was working with,
Did you have it in your personal name or a business
Yeah.
name? Okay.
We had it
Started in our personal.
Started in our personal. When we had companies, we did our research on what we wanted to do. We opened up our LLC. Disclosure, right? We're not CPAs or accountants or anything like that. But our understanding was an LLC was best for rentals, long terms. You got a corp, tax it as corp, whatever you want to do, however you kind of want to structure that for your flips. So we already had our 2 companies going, but it was completely in our personal name at that moment. So we was wanting to refinance it out, put claim it into our rental company, and try moving stuff out of our personal name.
Okay, so you already knew ahead of time it had to be in your personal name.
Yeah.
I didn't know that on my first burr. And it took me, I was like, right at the end of my maturity date, and they're like, hey, so this cash out refi, unfortunately, I forgot to have you put it in your personal name. Like, we got to wait another 6 months. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So it took a year and a half to refinance my first property.
Those lessons are never forgotten.
Yeah.
But it took us a good chunk of time.
Yeah, seasoning periods will get you too. I remember I was flipping a house a few years ago, and we knew the FHA flipping rules. Have you ever dealt with that?
We learned another one recently.
If you're going to flip a house, you can't sell to an FHA buyer unless you've owned it for 3 months, and the contract has to be not anywhere in between that time. It has to be after the 3 months. And we sold to an FHA buyer, but we had it for 4 months at that time, so we were fine. And then I switched the LLC to a different LLC for tax reasonings, not even thinking that it would trigger.
You triggered a new 3.
I triggered a new, so we had to wait in escrow for like an additional 3 months.
Oh my gosh.
Just because of that, just because of my stupid mistake of in escrow switching to a different title, or switching title to a different company.
We had, the one we had issues with was we had bought a piece of property that had a house on it and it was burned down, well, fire damaged. And so we tore that down and put a manufactured home on. Well, the mortgage broker, the person that put the offer in was pre-approved for FHA. The mortgage broker tried to run it through as a new build rather than a flip, because it essentially was a new build, but we weren't FHA approved builders. So then they went, well, we got to run it through as a flip, which since we hadn't had it for 90 days, it required 2 appraisals. Or no, since we were selling it for more than 100% of what the purchase price was, it had to have 2 appraisals. Well, we had only had 1 at that point. And so we ended up missing closing by 6 weeks on that one, waiting for a second appraisal. So we learned a lot about FHA flipping rules at that point, because I'm like, no, run it through as new construction. Well, we can't.
Education always has a cost one way or the other. It's either time or money. Sometimes it's both.
It's usually both.
It's that, and then we got the second property. We got in on that one. We learned a lot of lessons on that one.
So your second one, so you had about a month off, right?
Not really, like 2 weeks.
So you had about 2 weeks of breathing time before you started the next project?
We did.
And then we stacked another one right on top of that, because we picked up Cedar. That was our free house that I mentioned.
7th.
Oh, 7th. No, you're right. 7th was next.
Okay.
So we didn't do anything with 7th because it was already.
Let's focus on the second one first, if you don't mind. Okay, so you bought it for $111, had an ARV of $230. What did it appraise at? Do you remember?
Right at 230.
Yeah.
235.
It was 235.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how much? And you put about 40 into it as well, about the same amount as the other
That
one.
one went a couple over. That was like 45 because we got in a hurry. We had a tenant already set up for it, and so we pushed our back against the wall. We had a deadline. We had to have it ready for our original drywaller. He didn't perform. So then we had emergency labor shortages and had people working there like all hours.
Yeah, I think you're right. It was probably closer to 50 now that I think about it. I can pull up the spreadsheet.
Anyways.
That's okay. We can deal with round numbers.
Long-term thing, $6,000, you're like, now, you're like...
What does it matter?
Yeah, it doesn't even matter, right? Yeah. It's... when you get hung up on $1,000
back
or
then,
2,000,
though, everything I would get hung up over $200.
Yeah.
Like, this is gonna break us.
I'm not buying that.
Like, I gotta figure out. I gotta go shopping.
And that changes like your whole perspective. We look back now on what we knew then, and man, we failed on we missed on 2 or 3 properties that if we had just acted, so many ways to go about it. But at the time, like you said, we was hung up on a lot of the little things. And now looking back, those little things, you laugh about them because it's really not relevant.
Yeah. So sorry, if I can ask one more time for timelines. Did you get the cash back before you bought the second one? Or did you have to?
No, we did private money on the second one.
You did private money, okay.
Yep, so we had been able to get in touch with a private money lender who has been pivotal or instrumental in our success.
Okay. How'd you meet him? Or
through the mortgage broker that fell down on the first house, because the FHA thing. So he kind of fell down on that one, but he said, hey, I have a contact with a private money lender if, blah, blah, blah. So that's essentially how we got connected with them. He has funded almost every single one of our projects except for this portfolio.
Awesome.
And it's just a phone call. I'd be like, hey, I've got this property. Throw the numbers at him. He's like, you got it.
So what kind of, if you don't mind sharing, what kind of terms do you get on private money?
12.
12? Any
12
points?
straight.
No points.
And
wow,
the one that we
that's
have,
good.
Well, and we've built.
I've got one of those too, finally, that I've been using here and there, but it's kind of, I feel like I'm being disloyal to one of the guys that I've been using for years because they have to charge points. That's how they make money. But I've got another guy.
And the thing is, the numbers work,
Yeah,
right? If
exactly.
everybody's making money, well, you're fine. And we've helped them out of a pickle.
That's
and
where
that's
the free house,
and that's where the free house come in. That was how we got that 1111. The street was a PML that fronted it, and then we come back and we did the same thing. We refinanced it back out.
Yeah.
So on this private loan, did you have to put money down?
No.
No? He was fine with it? You saw, you got equity here?
Went and sat down and talked with there's two partners, and had dinner with him and went through everything.
Okay, so somebody you got to meet face to face.
Yeah. Yep.
We've not put any money down on any of the properties we've bought. All 32.
Except for the first one, we bought cash.
Well, right, but we've not.
You've been creative about it since. That's good.
Yeah.
Real good.
Yeah. When you get we have a 2-1 upstairs duplex and a 2-1 downstairs, and you get the house for free. It's not bad.
Yeah, and I'm a big believer trying to get everything 100% financed because, I mean, the business should run itself. And every time you have to dip into your own pockets, it should just be for emergencies only,
So on that second one, we got a private money. He handled 100% of the purchase price. We took care of the reno on that one.
Okay.
So again, we had been able to cash out the first one, so we were able to pay off the line of credit and put that money back. So we just used that to go again.
Yeah. Now, what kind of tax liability did you have on that first one?
On changing out? Switching?
For those who are curious.
We didn't pay any taxes on it. We depreciated some. That was when.
2019?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we ended up paying between our W-2s and everything. I think we had like a $500 tax bill.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm sorry. I meant like.
Did
you, for those that are curious, like on that first deal that you did you have to set aside any money for taxes?
No.
Oh no.
No.
Okay.
It was treated as. Did they treat it as ordinary income because it came back out of closing? But then, based on all of our depreciation and deductions and whatnot, we ended up because, of course, it's through our LLC.
Yeah.
So it's
But you got the loan for 112. Yeah.
Yeah.
Closing costs was rolled into that, so we didn't quite make the whatever $8,000 we had sitting out on the other side of it. We made $5,000, something like that. And by the time you went through all of our properties that we had picked up in the remainder of that year, everything just come back out of it.
Cool. Yeah.
That's the beauty of real estate, right?
I know. Well, the beauty of the Burr method is you don't pay taxes on any money that you get because it's debt.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that to speak to your point exactly on that. That's why I was like, well, what am I missing here?
It was a trick question, but in case there are some people that watch this, they're like, wait, did you save any money for taxes before you just bought the next property?
Oh,
no. There's no need.
In fact, this last year, 2020, we got a check back from the IRS for $26,000.
Very nice.
Yeah. So not only did we not save any money aside for taxes, but the IRS paid us back everything we paid in.
That's great. Yeah.
We call it
the beauty of.
We trumped it for. That's what we call it.
Nice. Yeah.
So going back to the second one, 111 purchase, we did the rehab. Rehab was just shy of 50. So we were all in, 160 something, 162, we'll say. We financed it for 175. And so our payment on that is $731 a month. It rents for $1,500.
Okay. How long did it take you to go from that October second house to where you were able to get it refinanced and rented?
Rented out on January 15th.
Yep. It rented
3 months?
And that was kind of a...
And that's when we was having, we was trying to move away from us doing all the work. At that point, I was doing, plumbing, mechanical, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But we was hiring contractors to do the drywall, trim, lay flooring, stuff
Gotcha.
like that.
So you
Trying to
started
move
bringing in
out.
more and more people to help out.
That's why our labor budget, or why our reno budget went up slightly.
Yeah.
When we did the first one, we did all the work, and so it was
Yeah.
essentially materials. So that one we hired out more than what we thought we were going to, just because of time. So it blew our budget a little bit, but we still came out on the positive.
Yeah.
So our first tenant moved in on January 15th. I think we got it refinanced by like March.
Yeah.
I think it was like March by the time we got it refinanced, and so we just paid that private money. So of course our private money debt service was 12%, so $1,100 a month, and then of course the payment on the. So we were not cash flowing for the first couple of months, but as soon as we got that refinanced in March and dropped that payment down to $7, now we're renting it out for $1,500. So all in on that one. I think we're at just shy of 1,000. So $930 something is taxes and insurance and debt service, and we're cash flowing $500 a month on it.
Awesome. So the first house you got on the MLS, the second house you got on your own, just by someone who came in, wanted to see an electrician or meet an electrician or something like that. Yeah. Okay. And then the third, you mentioned you had a free house.
The third is our free house.
So what does that mean?
So our private money lender, they had a investor that was not performing. So I said, hey, can you guys come up and take a look at this place and let us know what you think? And I said, sure.
In the area?
In the area, yeah. So all of until we picked up this last portfolio, all of our properties are either in Lewiston or Clarkston. We're all within a 5-6 mile radius.
Yeah.
So went over and looked at the property. I said, oh, okay, well, when's the note due? And they're like, in like a month. I'm like, I don't know who he's got for contractors, but they better be really good, because once again, you're down to like studs and stuff like that, right? I ran what I thought the numbers, the ARV, I was thinking it was going to come in about that 250 mark. I thought it could go up to about 290. Is on a half acre, is a single family home, upstairs, downstairs, the way it was kind of built, and then there's a garage to the attached garage. So initially my plan is, if I looked at it, I'm like, I think I could turn this into a triplex.
Oh, wow.
So I was looking at it and I was kind of going through, and I'm thinking, hey, it'd probably come in 290 on the ARV. If we did all three, even if we did two, we was still going to be fine. I told them, looking at the reno, I think it's going to take about $100K. It's going to take quite a bit of work to get this thing where we need it to go, because you're going to have to split the meters, you're going to have the panels, electrical, heating, all the stuff that makes it to where you can basically break out all the power in heating and cooling so that they pay the bills. And the only thing that we would be stuck with, because there wasn't 2 water meters and we thought about, anyways, we'd be water, sewer, garbage. And I said, we'd probably give you like $95K in order to take this thing on. And they said, oh man, we need to get 130 out of this thing, actually 135, because he owes us some, etc.
Yeah.
Told them if they funded the reno, give us 100K for the reno, gave us 6 months no payments on it, so that we can get the thing fixed up, get it rented out, get a little bit of cash flow coming in, and then that'll hit our 6 months. We actually asked for 7 months, because I knew the 6 month by this time. I knew I had a Maybach, seasoning.
You always need a little more than 6.
Yeah. So give us 7 months, no payment, and we'll refinance the thing back out, and then you'll have your money back. Just by letting us borrow, you'll have your $45,000 back in, and we can all move on and be happy. And they said, sure. So I drafted up a schedule of values for the work where I thought the money was going to go. So each time I needed more money over the next 3 months, I would send in the schedule of values saying, hey, this is where we're at, this is what I borrowed today, and here's what I need for the next month for reno.
Yeah.
No problem. We got the house done. We had it done by July 15th, and we picked that one up March. May.
Yep. May.
Yeah.
So we had it done by July 15th. We went with 2 because it ended up being, so now they're really, it's funny because one's A and one's C. And everybody's like, where's B? And I'm like, well, that's supposed to be the garage. Because that's when I learned, when I turned the drawings in, the city called me and was like, so this is going to have to go commercial. And I'm like, why is it going commercial? Because it's still,
because
it's a triplex. It's more than 2. And I didn't realize that. Once again, I
learned that the hard way too with one of my conversions from a single family to
3. You're like,
well, it was going to be a 3, but like I had a shop with a studio in it, and I didn't want to tell them about that. I'm like, I know it's not going to go.
What they don't know won't hurt them.
But I didn't realize that going from a duplex to a triplex and like in the Coeur d'Alene as well, there's a lot more involved. You have to like dig up the street and do a fire sprinkler throughout the place, like with a separate water line and all kinds of other weird.
Wow,
we didn't go that route because we didn't turn it.
Yeah.
That it's those things like that though. You have no idea, right? You have 80% of it figured out, and then you figure out the 20% whenever you got to make decisions like that. But and that's kind of what we did too. The city was like, this is gonna have to go commercial. It's gonna have to go through all this stuff, and I'm like, whoa, why? Everything I read about, like in financing, says if it's 4 or under, you're still in the SFH.
Yeah.
And they're like, this isn't financing. This is code. I'm like, oh, well, okay, I guess. You got a point.
We do still make cash flow on that dead space, though, because we rented it out as a garage. So we do still make money on that garage space.
Yeah.
$200 a month.
Yeah, might as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a single-family home that has a detached shop with a little studio, and that thing's rented out. Doesn't have an address.
Nope.
That's part of the real deal.
That's
and
one
then
of the things we wondered.
Yeah, and the basement too. It has a detached or like a separate entry basement. We took out the staircase on the inside, made it its own apartment, and it even has a studio off the back. But the city allowed me to do. They didn't let me do the basement, so we had to call that storage because the ceiling was like 2 inches too short, something like that. It's not full 7.
Yeah.
But it was such a hassle, but it's totally worth it. Everything's rented out.
Yeah.
Oh,
The thing makes like $2,000 a month above my mortgage payment.
Yeah.
That's
totally worth doing. And it was a burr. I got all my money back.
Yeah.
What's
So
your
it's
ROI
like-
on that?
A lot.
Yeah.
But that one
It's like
deal,
infinity.
that's like working a Best Buy is what I like to call it. Like that's my Best Buy job.
Yeah.
Brings in $2,000 a month,
Yeah.
and all the money I got back after the refi. It's like
Even if you
It's
at
a nice-
one point
it's a nice
had
thing.
to have a 2 a.m. toilet phone call, even if at one point you did.
I'll take once a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, I could take a 2 a.m. phone call for $2,000 a month. Like,
yeah,
why not?
Yeah.
okay.
It-
I'll take the calls.
Yeah.
It's fine. I'll go mow the lawn here and there.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it. Somebody
No,
else. will
No,
do it.
but
right.
still, that's what,
Sorry,
when people say,
yeah.
you don't want to take those calls, I'm like, when I sit and collect money most of the other days of the month, I
Yeah.
don't mind.
And that's people's rendition, right? When they're trying to justify not doing something like that, they're like, "Oh, well, you're still working," and you're like, "But
I'm paddleboarding.
I'm
most
paddleboarding
morning.
at 10 o'clock. I wait until nobody's at the gym to go to the gym."
Yeah.
Because everybody else is working to do. And I mean, it's like the
Stay out of
freedom.
traffic.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. It's. I think I've set my alarm 5 times, maybe.
And turned it off.
Yeah. Since step it out. So
It's important
it's
to
nice.
say, though, that house, the free house, wasn't actually our 3rd house. It was our 4th house because
Okay.
we had 7th. So we had closed on 7th in that time right around the 11th Street house. So actually we closed the same day,
Same day.
with 11th and 7th. 7th was they seller financed it for the first year,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a 1.2 acre piece of property that had 2 houses on it already.
Yeah.
The houses were in distressed condition, but were already rented out. And so the tenant in the big house did vacate, and we did a quick little rehab job on it, just some new flooring and paint, and threw a new tenant
Upstairs.
in it. But that property we picked up for $170,000. It can be subdivided into 4 parcels, which we're actively working on, and we have lease option. We have a lease option on the one big house for $175,000. So once that sells, we will have effectively paid for the entire lot, and we'll have 3 lots left to build or.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's a
So
good
that
spot to
came
be
into that mix there before we got to the free house.
As part
Yeah.
of where the money off of.
And all this
the
in your first
house.
year,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. We haven't even got to
When
20.
you hit 1 year, did you guys kind of feel like, yeah, this is what we expected? Or were you like, man, I can't believe we did this much?
Yeah,
Like what-
because also throw in there we had an accidental wholesale.
Yeah.
So
Hotel.
and
Accidental wholesale.
Yeah, we
Whoops.
had an accidental wholesale. So we
Didn't mean
had
to
picked up.
wholesale.
When did we pick it? We picked up towers in
December.
December.
No, November.
Yeah,
middle
so
of
we picked up a hoarder house, a legit hoarder house.
Mm-hmm.
Picked it up in November. Closed as we were digging out all the garbage. We had some kids, not young kids, but teenagers, digging out garbage and throwing it in a dumpster. Somebody approached them and said, "What are you guys going to do with this house?" Of course, you buy the best house in the worst neighborhood. It was in a
Yeah.
coveted school
Other way
district,
around.
or the worst house in the best neighborhood.
I was like, no, we're
Yeah.
doing this backwards.
So somebody walked by, and essentially, long story short, we had bought it for 111.
Uh-huh.
That's our magic number.
111 again.
Sold it to them
Nice.
for 150. And
Okay.
we literally closed on it ourselves on January something, and turned around and sold it to them on 3 weeks later. So we made $40,000 in 3 months.
Yeah,
and
not
our
bad.
total commitment into it, we put $7,000 into it. So
Okay. With
Yeah.
some of the trash out and demo work and stuff.
Furnace was out, so I put a new furnace in, which is, I mean, that's what I do.
Cost.
Right?
So you made about 30 grand or so
Yeah,
on that deal?
37,000.
yeah. And
Did you get that private money note for it initially and then paid it off within a month?
No.
Or did you?
Yeah.
Did you even
We
make
did,
a
but didn't we rent it from them during that time, and then we literally just
Well, we did.
closed on it? So we rented it from them
We was
from the
leasing it
sellers
from them. It
for
was just like
$500 a
lease option.
month.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, okay.
That's right.
So then
Creative.
we had the private. Well, the only reason we had to do the private money is because of the fact that we failed to mark the assignable box on the contract. So we had to dual close. So we got private money just for 3 weeks, literally. So we closed on it on January, we'll say 10th or whatever, and then closed again. So
The
yeah.
bank wouldn't do a dual closing, so
Wow.
we closed. 3 weeks later, they closed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in your first year, you got to do wholesaling, burrs, and lease options.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Pretty exciting.
learn a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's the thing, is having an open mind, just like you said before. You find a problem, you find a solution.
Yeah.
And we had our friends that we still stayed in touch with constantly, or not constantly, I guess, quite a bit. Is for backup and for educational sources and for picking their brains. Went on a cruise.
Captains of the Deal cruise.
Captains of the Deal, real estate investing cruise.
Yeah.
Met a bunch of more amazing people that we're still really good friends with, and mastermind groups and stuff like that. So it's
great.
That's why I'm excited about this, because networking is huge. I mean, that's how
Yeah.
we learn so much,
Yeah.
hearing your stories and learning, we learned something today hearing from you. So that's why I'm really passionate about that whole networking stuff and building a team and things. So that was year 1. Year 2, which is where we're actually,
And when you end year 1, you're in COVID now, right?
yeah, now we're in
Yeah.
COVID.
Did that freak you guys out? Did the market downs, in Lewiston come to a screeching halt?
I think
Or-
honestly, I think we was happy enough with the way things was going. I mean, we was working pretty hard, but the possibilities seemed like they just kept opening up, and
Yeah.
it was just like, and so we just kept stepping
More
through the door.
opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we just kept stepping through the door, and I don't think we ever really stopped and was like, "Oh, COVID's going to bring us down." We just kept stepping through the door.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're we're also in a pretty fortunate area, I think, because I talked to a lot of investors in Spokane and stuff, and totally different world over there. It
Yeah.
seemed
Oh, yeah.
like when COVID hit, just everything stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in Idaho, just everything, the fire was just lit.
It was.
It was.
We're like, Idaho's like third in the nation for least amount of people per square mile.
Mhm.
And we was actually last year 5th for GDP contribution.
Wow.
So
Huh.
it's like, how do you...
How
do
does
you
the
measure
least
that?
populated state be one of the most,
At least that was in the article I read. I didn't go through
Yeah.
Verify.
Yeah.
Disclaimer.
So,
Some
yeah.
expensive lake property selling.
Yes, it
last
is.
year.
And Coeur d'Alene is blowing up right now.
Yeah, it's
That's what it looks like.
But yeah, that was the end of year one. Year two, or the beginning of year two, because that all kind of eked into January, February of 2020. So then in 2020, we flipped 2 houses? No, we just had the one. Because all of our flips ended up being in 2021,
Yeah.
right?
Why'd you decide to flip instead of do the burr, or stick with that method?
Well, we're still doing burrs.
Yeah.
But we had some bad personal debt, credit debt, things like
Yeah.
that we just wanted to knock off quickly, because that was part of our plan to be able to get out of our W-2s, right? Because we needed to reduce our overhead
Yeah.
and increase our passive income, and so it was kind of a dual thing. So while we were still doing burrs and picking up rentals, we started doing flips as well. We did Powers, the second Powers. We've done 2 on Powers, Rip-On 7th. Those were all this year. We're finishing up 3rd. And all of our flips have sold before they even hit the market, and all of them have gone over asking by at least $10,000.
That's great.
It
Yeah.
kind of get back to that story. So when we got the duplex, but just like Amy said, we was trying to, we wanted to step out of our W-2 jobs. We wanted financial freedom. So in order to do that, we needed more income coming in than going out, right?
Yeah.
And so we had our personal house. It was
We sold that.
yeah, it was a pretty nice house. So at the time we're like, hey, we'll sell our house. We'll end up making $40,000 off of that. Pays off more debt. We're still in the process of going through
Yeah.
that, and that's a whole different story. I'm stopping.
And if I can interject just a little bit.
Sure.
When it comes to, like, the burr's like, it doesn't make you rich immediately.
Oh no.
But it definitely, like, pads your net worth pockets.
Oh, yeah.
Quite a bit.
Well,
Right? So it's not like you could just quit your job. I did 7 burrs.
No.
We're done, baby. We got
Yeah.
$400 in the, no, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
no,
Or, you know, we've got
as I
a couple
said, we
thousand a
were
month.
running the numbers on the way up here. So our passive income now, once we finished that portfolio,
Yeah.
our original 9 rentals brings us about $4,000 a month in passive
cash
income.
flow.
In cash flow.
Yep.
The portfolio brings us about another 44 in cash flow, and
Yep.
that's with 4 vacant properties. So 4 of the 22 are vacant currently.
Awesome.
So we're doing, but that 4. That didn't start out at 4, right? There was some negative, like I said, while we were refinancing, they didn't always cash flow like that.
Yep.
So it's been a process for sure.
And real estate's not like a get rich
No.
quick.
But you're able to pay off dets.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what
And
the
that's-
flips were.
Yeah.
Flips are big chunks of money. You
So your
throw
cash
at
flow
it.
situation overall is probably improved quite a bit. Plus, you're not driving constantly to work. I'm sure you had to pay for some gas and stuff, and there's other expenses.
Yeah, gas.
No, okay.
No, we had a company truck and a gas car.
My company
Never mind.
is a great company.
No, but we've really repositioned. Selling our big personal house that was, it was a beautiful house, but when you don't need a $1,900 a month mortgage payment because you just don't need that much of a house, and well, now we're living in one of our rentals for free essentially.
Yeah.
So we have
Yep.
no mortgage payment, and you've reduced all of your debt and your bills that go out to literally just our car payments and groceries and gas.
Yeah.
You're able to live on really very little.
Yeah.
And so that gives us the ability
Not
to
caught in
not
a rut.
only travel and do those things, but put money back into the business and continue to renovate these properties, which increases their value, which gives us a bigger equity pocket.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's not a quick deal. It takes time, and it's not really complicated. It's just not easy.
It's not easy. Yeah, no, you said it perfectly.
Yeah.
Yes, it's simple, not easy.
Yeah.
Can get complicated depending
It
on
can. It depends on where you go.
But if you just take a step back, what you're doing,
Yeah.
you're providing housing.
Yeah.
You're doing what the government wants you to do.
Oh, yeah.
And people will lend you money for it.
Yep.
Yep.
And people will come help work on things for it. You just need to be an excellent, resourceful delegator. Right?
Yeah, it's
Or-
really, and that's, we both did that in our jobs quite a bit. And so for us, we've always been the people that solve problems.
Yeah, problem solver.
Yeah, and you think about like what's the key to it. I think you got to have the why.
Yeah.
Honestly, because when it gets tough, if you don't have a really strong, focused why, you're gonna give up. And then you got to take action, and you got to be willing to solve problems.
Yeah.
And you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
my motto. I actually had it put on a necklace because there have been so many times that I have been scared out of my mind, and literally that like funds have gotten down to the very minimum.
Yep.
And I'm like, Scott, what are we going to do? And then things kick loose and it all turns around and the ship's right again. And you just got to learn to weather those storms.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, you've got to be comfortable getting uncomfortable regularly.
Yep.
That's what's changed my life completely. Like when I started the networking meetings, I did not want to stand up and talk to people. That was the last thing I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But I knew if I did it consistently, it would change my life.
And your comfort
And-
level would grow.
And it did grow. But you always got to do something uncomfortable, it seems like,
Yeah.
or else you're just going to get into complacency and things will fall apart.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
What did they say? It might have been Jay. It's good's the enemy of great.
Yeah.
It's
Good.
whenever you get complacent, you're like, oh, I'm comfortable. I'm just gonna stay here.
That's
in
when
this
things
zone."
start falling apart.
Oh, it does.
You got to always, you got to be aware of what's happening,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
It's, that's
So-
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I like to interrupt a lot.
No, that's fine because we
Because
talk a
we
lot.
can-
So
yeah, we
you
can
So now-
probably need to.
So now we are on the third quarter now almost of 2021. You guys have 32 properties now. I know it took quite a bit of work to get there. But once you got up to 9 or so, then you got another 22. Is that right?
Well, once we got to 9,
Pretty
before
quickly?
we picked up the 22, we also then picked up a mixed-use property that has 20 storage units, a shop, and 3 houses on it.
Oh, wow.
So we also now own storage units as well.
Wow.
Learned a lot through that because they were not zoned to be used commercially, so we had to go through the whole conditional use permit process, and we've been through a lot. And so then we picked that up, and then
Tell them the numbers on that one.
what do you mean the numbers? We picked it up for $265,000. That was what we purchased the property for. It's 1.1 acres, 20
Yeah.
storage units, a shop, 3 houses. We just at a 7 cap figured out the value of that property is $680.
636.
636, and we have we have an underlying, we have a note on it for 340.
So how'd you find that deal?
MLS.
Just MLS deal.
Yeah.
So, so I'm gonna go.
The MLS is full of surprises.
Oh, but here's the ticket.
Yeah.
So the ticket to the MLS for us is the agent that we used to work with. We don't work with them anymore. There's a separation in there, and we had somebody reach out to us. We actually called him because we was looking at a property. We were like, hey, and we called him. And he's like, oh, Amy had been posting our rehabs on our page. And on Facebook, and he's like, oh, hey, I've been following you guys. I've been wanting to talk to you. And we're like, all right, let's sit down and have coffee.
Yeah.
And I'm going to use the term kid loosely because this guy, whenever he graduated, by the time he was 19, he was a real estate agent.
Yeah.
And he understands real estate investment like notes. Like we sit down, give him our parameters, and that guy is kicking us out properties left and right. And
That's
we're
awesome.
literally like, what do you think? And he's like, man, I think this would be a good quick flip. He knows what numbers we're looking for on our burrs, like where we're looking for our parameters. And he's hitting the MLS like 3 times a day. And we get
awesome.
stuff at night, 9 o'clock at night, whatever.
He
So
hustles.
I'm going to say that in our flips, minus the 1, have all been through him. So he gets them coming
Wow.
and going.
That's great.
So he brought it, but the question to Nick, to answer Nick's question, he brought it to us off the MLS, but the reason it was an MLS is there were so many issues with the property that most people didn't want to touch. So
Right.
the first was...
So an agent brought you the deal that would have gone on the MLS?
No, it was
or,
on the
or
MLS.
it did go on the MLS?
But
Okay.
it went on the MLS, but anybody looking at it was scared to touch it because of all of the issues with it.
Yeah,
So
it
first
didn't
we
make-
had the conditional use issue, right? You couldn't operate the storage units, there's revenue gone. There was another issue with, it was owned, so it was also another estate type thing where the parents had passed away, went to the kids. It was two brothers. One brother, there was fighting between the two of them. There was actually a judgment against one of them. I mean, there was all this legal
Non-paying
complication.
tenant in
Yeah,
one.
it was a
Like,
mess.
it was a mess.
So
Yeah.
most people were like, "Yeah, I'm not going to touch that," and it was in significantly distressed status. So it needs lots of work.
Yeah.
So there were not a lot of people willing to take a stab at that. We actually picked it up for $265 because we marked the price down, right? We offered lower,
Uh-huh.
and they took it because they just weren't getting any other offers.
Well, they didn't.
Well, they
They're
did. They
tiny.
had another offer, but they couldn't get funding. That person
Okay.
couldn't get funding.
Yeah.
So we, because of our private money lender, he gave us $340 on it because it was worth that all day long. So we even got $70,000 for reno
Yeah.
into the purchase.
That's great.
And now that property at a 7 cap is worth $636, and we owe $340 on it.
It's a good position to be in.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it cash flows $2K a month.
Nice. Yeah.
And storage units are the easiest thing in the world. I have not ever met one of my storage units. I do it all on DocuSign. DocuSign,
Oh, really? Don't
yeah.
meet them in person?
Don't meet them. I send them an application. They do it all online. I send them a lease on DocuSign. I say, there you go. Go ahead. They pay their rent online.
That's awesome.
I've never even seen them, most of them. So.
Okay. So now you guys want to get a networking event started in Lewiston. Tell me about that.
Well, so much of what has propelled our business is just who we've met along the way and the things that we've learned and knowing who to call. And there's so many different niches in real estate investment. I mean, just because we do a burr and a flip, there's wraps and there's so many different ways to acquire real estate and so many different ways to leverage it and make money on it that and I know there's people in our area that are doing it, but I don't think anybody knows each other. Like, I don't think they're really connected. So one of the networks we have is our mastermind group that we attend and visit with, but they're all on the east side. They're Georgia and Wisconsin and Florida, which is great to learn from them, but the rules in the market is so different over here. So then we came up to your meeting and came away with some wonderful information and also some wonderful networks and contacts that we've already started to leverage. So really just wanted to pull something down closer to home, pull the people out of the woodwork that we know are doing it down there, but we just don't know who and what and how, and give that opportunity to make those connections and networks. Also, there's a lot of opportunity still down there for investors for flipping and recreating. There's some commercial spaces that would be transitioned into some really great, short terms or whatever. So just kind of starting to build network. We've talked about doing syndication or joint ventures and doing development. It's not something we want to take on by ourselves, but if we could build a team and things, private money, so just kind of bringing that all together. And in addition, education is a passion of mine. So not only do I like the connecting people and helping them succeed, but educating them on. We've had so many people ask us, "Tell us how you did it." Well, we can't sit down in a dinner and tell them everything we've learned and experienced in 2 years. So it would be an avenue for them to start to learn about the language and how we did it and what happened just by
just show up
listening.
once a month. Come over here.
Yeah.
So do you guys have a start date in mind yet, or are you still working that out?
Still working that out.
If anybody is from the Lewiston, Moscow area and they want to get in touch with you, how should they do that?
They can go to our Facebook page, which is Rains Investment
Rains
on
Investment,
Facebook, or they can send us an email at rainsinvestment@cableone.net.
Okay. Perfect. Anything else you guys want to add or piece of advice for the rookies out there?
If they're picking a course of action, they decided that they want real estate to be it. Get the education because that combats fear, and then take action. you got to take action. It's really hard to be an investor without investing, without
It is.
stepping out and like doing
Go out
something.
there, just make offers.
Yeah. We talk to people. We're like, well, how many properties did you evaluate today? How many deals did you evaluate? And they're like, oh, I don't know, none. Well, how about this week? None.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
It's got to start
you
somewhere.
gotta go. Yeah. You gotta go, and that's why that why I think is really important. If you're looking for a mentor, I bring something to the table, and most of the time it's got to be more than coffee. And this isn't to be callous, but people are real estate investors because they value time.
Yeah.
That's the most valuable thing that they have, and if you're wanting that, then you need to bring something to the table that you can help them out with, or show some sort of enthusiasm.
Yeah.
We've talked about helping people out, and
Yeah.
they're like, we want to know, let's take you to dinner. We're like, read these 2 books first.
Yeah, and said, why don't you come help demo a property and I'll tell you a
Yeah,
little
and
bit.
then I'll talk as we're doing it.
Exactly.
Instead of
Yeah, exactly.
meeting
Come help
for
me
another
make some
coffee.
Floyd, or demo or do whatever. Come
Yeah.
help out or whatever, and show that you're wanting to contribute or wanting to help out in return.
Yeah.
And you probably open a lot more doors than just coffee.
I agree. Yeah. All right. Anything, Amy?
No,
No
just
more
my
advice?
statement of get comfortable being uncomfortable. Don't let fear stop you. That was the biggest thing. I was scared, and it's scary, but there's everybody, like, it's happening. People are doing it. So if they can do it, I can do it, and if I can do it, you can do it. So just don't be scared. Take action.
Right on.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks, Nick.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
You guys had a wild adventure. I'm sure it's not over.
It's just starting.
no.
Just starting,
Yeah.
but it's pretty impressive.
Thank you.
Thank
So-
you. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
I have to say that I contacted you like a couple of years ago, and you gave me some great advice, man. So that's.
I wish I knew what that
that.
call was. Just kidding.
It's okay. We was
Hopefully
running
you're right.
another 1% rule and going through it, and I was like, wow, there's people that do this. And then I come up and I hit that meetup that one time, and I was like, I made good contacts, but I was like, there are people that actually do it. So it's kind of a proof of
Yeah.
concept
Yeah.
deal, right? And I'm like, just because we're in
You
Idaho
wanted to
doesn't
be
mean we're
Nick when you
backwoods and
grew up.
nobody does
Yeah.
this. Yeah, I'm like, okay, this is great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So that proof of concept really helped motivate us too.
I'm glad. All right. Well, thanks for coming out today.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks for tuning in to the Investor Shed podcast. If you'd like to attend our live networking events, they're held the first Thursday of every month at the Keller Williams office in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and start at 6:30 p.m. We also have our Sandpoint, Idaho meetup held at Laughing Dog Brewery the second Thursday of every month at 6 p.m.